Today we are going to deal with the topic thinking. Under thinking, we are going to do nature of thinking, elements of thinking, concept formation and various methods that are used to measure concept formation. Now, do we think? It's very difficult not to think, very hard not to think. During most of our waking, sleeping and dreaming states, that means conscious as well as altered states of conscious states as well, we think. It's very hard not to think, isn't it? What do we do when we think? After all, we process the information that is received by our sense organs and environment. What are the sense organs, by the way? Eyes, ears, nose and skin, of course. These are the various sense organs. Now, thinking is a process of mentally manipulating the ideas, images, concepts, words and of course knowledge and beliefs as well. Now, thinking is also considered as a cognitive rearrangement or manipulation. What is manipulation here? Transformation of the information which is received from sense organs and of course from the environment as well, right? Yeah. Since I use the word cognitive rearrangement, I think we need to discuss about cognition as well here, isn't it? Now, what is cognition? Because today we are discussing the key cognitive process, so we should have a very clear knowledge about cognition as well, right? So, what is cognition? Cognition is derived from a Latin word cognoscere. It means to know or to recognize, and it is a process of knowing or acquiring knowledge or mentally processing the information related to any problem or event or object. That is what is cognition. Now, according to cognitive psychologists, we engage in a variety of other cognitive processes as well. What are the other cognitive processes, by the way? Perception, right? Perception, remembering and thinking, the key cognitive process, followed by reasoning. And all these cognitive processes are of course controlled by the higher brain center. What is that higher brain center, by the way? Cerebral cortex. Only human beings have the capacity to go beyond the information that is given. Right now you are perceiving what I am giving, but thinking is much beyond perception. That is how we human beings have the capacity to go beyond the information that is given. So, we think, and while thinking we imagine, we anticipate our future. So, all these processes also are followed. Now, human beings, after all, they owe their success to two important aspects. One is intelligence, which is a global capacity, and the other one is thinking, which is mental expression of internal representation of the problem or situation. Now, the intensity of that mental internal representation is illustrated in your solution. How are you solving that problem is representing your internal representation. Thinking should be considered as a key cognitive process. Now, cognitive psychologists, they approach views thinking as information processing that occurs between stimulus and response. And according to information processing approach, first of all we need to understand what is this information processing as well. Of course, information is again received by sense organs and environment, right? And this information is transformed or manipulated. Electrochemical brain waves, transformation of the information received by the sense organs is transformed. They are reduced into concepts, images, right? Symbols, language, and they are elaborated, and again they are recovered and used when the appropriate that situation comes. Now, there are various methods which are followed to study the stages of this information processing. Now, I have used almost 4 to 5 stages in this process: reduction and then elaboration, recover, right. So, what are the methods that are used to measure this information processing? That is, one is introspection, reaction time, brain scanning, electroencephalogram, EEG, and event related potential as well, that is ERP. Now, key cognitive process, of course, during information processing is thinking, and that is why it is considered as highly constructive. And because of thinking, a person gets their own self identity, and of course, it involves many other mental activities such as inferring, abstracting, reasoning, problem solving, and of course, decision making as well. Thinking allows us to model this world and deal with it effectively by providing symbols and words, of course language, images, theories, methods and techniques as well. The most important are concepts. So, here we can just take the working definition of thinking as: thinking can be defined as a cognitive process in which we manipulate the information either collected through the sensory system or stored in memory so as to be able to respond to the demands of the immediate situation. That is the working definition of thinking. Now, what are the elements or tools of thinking? The very first one is symbol, an identity that stands for an event or object. A camel, it is a word that stands for an animal. Now, the language, powerful tool, of course, which has two characteristics, which has the presence of symbols as well as it provides us communication, which makes human thinking much more sophisticated than other species, isn't it? Now, images, these are the mental representations, the pictures in the brain. Of course, you can have sight, auditory images, etc. And concepts, what are they? The most important aspect, concept. These are the basic units of our semantic thoughts. They are the mental categories in which we place objects, events, activities, abstractions, properties, relations and qualities as well that have essential features in common. Now, Eleanor Roche in the year 1977 stated that basic concept is that which has moderate number of instances and are easier to acquire than those that have either few or many instances. Example, vegetable. Well, it is very easy, you know what is vegetable, but it is quite difficult to really come up with a definition. So, when you think of a vegetable, I can think of carrot. We can quickly think of for a vegetable, and that is carrot for me, which probably has the most familiar features of a vegetable, isn't it? So, any class or category or object or event which has the more prototypical features, the more familiar features of that particular object or event can be termed as the prototype. Now, prototype of a bird, now I will give you 3 examples: penguin, eagle, bat. Eagle, which can fly, which has all the prototypical features of a bird. Penguin can't fly, and bat has again few or more characteristics or prototypical, more than needed features, right. So, you can think of probably eagle when you think of bird. So, eagle can stand as a prototype of bird, right. Now, what are the uses of these prototypes? They are more elementary, and children learn their early concepts, of course, based on prototypes. But as we grow, individual may change their prototypical concepts. Now, uses of concepts here, they help us in classifying and organizing the world of experiences. This improves our ability to adapt to environment and grow as well. That is why concepts can be considered as building blocks of thought. Now, concepts would be of limited use if we merely stack them up mentally, pen them up mentally. One way of accomplishing this is by storing and using prepositions. Prepositions. Preposition is a unit of meaning or units of meaning that is made up of concepts. Again, concepts are having a single unitary idea. Because of prepositions, we are of course linking these two concepts together. College students are smart people. College students, a particular concept. Smart, a particular concept again. We are able to link these two concepts together with the help of prepositions. And because of these prepositions, since we are linking these concepts together in complicated networks of knowledge, association, beliefs and expectations as well, we are able to form cognitive schemas. It is an integrated mental network of knowledge, beliefs, expectations concerning a particular topic or aspect of world. For example, gender schemas. What is gender, by the way? Male or female. Okay, fine. So, in Afghanistan, the gender that they have, for female, it is different. What they hold, the culture, of course, there are so many other things, beliefs, expectations, cultures. Based on all these things, of course, one tends to develop their cognitive schemas as well. They are like, networks, knowledge networks. Thinking, which originally occurs as a part of sensory expression, gradually becomes independent of it. Unless and until you see some object or event, first of all, you are not able to develop a concept related to that. But as you grow, even in the absence of that particular object also, you are able to still maintain that concept by either reducing or generalizing or differentiating. And images and ideas are gradually come to substitute for actual objects, events and people. Now, this particular process is termed as concept formation, which is of course highly complex and involves an interplay of basic processes such as perception, learning, memory and of course thinking and motivation as well. Now, it is a twofold activity which has two discoveries. I mean, for any concept formation, first of all, you need to discover two aspects. One is attribute, the other is rule. Any concept and what are the rules to form that concept as well. Attribute discovery as well as rule discovery. Now, this concept formation, it grows gradually and it contributes to overall growth and adaptation. And it follows a specific hierarchy. If you have to develop a concept with regard to a brown dog, a living organism, an animal, a canine, spaniel and a brown dog. That is how one tends to follow hierarchy in forming a concept. So, the basic steps in concept formation are number 1, observation, number 2, generalization, number 3, discrimination and number 4, abstraction. Now, observation, this is the very first stage of course. Any event is observed, any object is observed and this also can be termed as a stage of becoming aware, which can be direct as well as indirect. Now, direct observation, a child can directly see a dog and be aware of it. And indirect observation, he also hears stories about devils or Jains from others. Here the awareness is indirect. So, repeated experiences of course provides the basis for the development of concepts. Now, generalization. Next is generalization. Repeated experiences or observations of different objects result in the tendency to form a general idea. For example, child needs one dog, then another, goes on and then begins to form general idea of the dog, concepts related to gender, shape, number, etc. This is generalization. Now, next is discrimination or differentiation. Along with observation, generalization and organization of similarities among things and objects, the child becomes aware of the differences between them. For example, both dogs and cows are animals and both of them run on 4 legs. Cows are different from, cows again are different from bulls. So, it is this way of sequential operation of discrimination followed by generalization leads to the formation of concepts. Now, abstraction. The perception and the experience are inwardly analyzed and re-experienced in the absence of the objects. This result is an appreciation of similarities or differences. Now, this process of by which the experience is analyzed in the absence of actual situation is known as abstraction, right. Abstraction, which actually transforms comparable and contrasting experiences into concepts, is termed as abstract thinking ability. Ability to respond to concrete situations in the absence of the actual situation is called as abstract thinking ability. As the child grows, the process of abstraction in plays an important role in the development of concepts, right. Now, the ability here is very much related to the intellectual ability of the individual, and it helps us to forming ideas of future, growth of science, culture, artistic creations, civilizations, and of course, so many intelligence tests, they reflect the ability to form abstract concepts, right. Now, what are the various types of concepts? Simple concepts, complex concepts. Simple concepts here, they represent single features, right, that is simple concepts. Complex, they represent several. Here, complex are again divided into conjunctive, disjunctive and relational. Here, conjunctive complex concepts are, it represents 2 or more, right. 2 or more features. For example, red square, red and square, more than one, right, that is conjunctive. Now, disjunctive represents any one of several features, for example, red circle and then red pen, red pencil, anything, one of all these features. And then relational, what are these relational again? Lighter than, more than, all these are relational. Now, we have to measure concept formation here. According to Piaget, they developed number of experiments and tasks to find out concept formation and thinking. Of course, the tests developed by Vygotsky, Kasanian and Hanpan, they have also developed measurements too. And then there are various intelligence tests as well, right, to measure abstract thinking ability as well. Piaget's, Vygotsky's, Kasanian's, Hanpan and various other intelligence tests, of course, they measure concept formation, right. Now, reasoning. This process, of course, it involves inference. It is used in logical thinking, and reasoning is highly productive and it is highly advanced, of course, it is highly complex, and it is used in problem solving also, and it is an implicit act and highly goal oriented, and general and specific conclusions are drawn from a set of facts in reasoning, right. Now, according to Garrett in the year 1968, reasoning is stepwise thinking with a purpose or goal in mind, and it is termed as a highly specialized thinking which helps an individual to explore mentally the cause and the effect relationship as well in the reasoning. Now, very well organized systematic steps based on previous experiences, of course, combined with the present observation, that helps in reasoning, right. Now, of course, there are two types in this, deductive and inductive. Now, deductive reasoning, of course, the person tries to deduce or draw conclusions from a set of initial assertions or premises. For example, all A are B's, all B are C, therefore, all A are C, valid syllogism, right. That is called as deductive reasoning, deductive reasoning. Thus, in deductive reasoning, we go typically from general to the particular by applying some general rules, right. Now, inductive, of course, is just the opposite of deductive reasoning. In this, we go from the available evidence to generate a conclusion about the likelihood of something. Here, we go from the available evidence to generate a conclusion about the likelihood of something. Now, induction is a way of proving a statement, of generalizing a rule or principle by proving or showing that if a statement or a rule is true in one particular case, it will be true in cases which appear in some serial order and thus be applied generally to all such types of cases, right. Now, therefore, by starting from a particular facts or special examples and instances, one can formulate and generalize principles and conclusions in that particular type of reasoning. For example, iron expands when heated, isn't it? Water also expands when heated. Air also expands when heated. Therefore, all types of matter, solids, liquids and gas expand when heated, right, from specific to general, isn't it? That is what is inductive. So, this is about inductive reasoning, right. So, what have we done so far? To begin with, thinking, nature of thinking, information processing, right, and elements of thinking. What are the various elements of thinking here? Symbols, concepts, yes. And what about concepts?
Concept formation, uses of concepts.
Uses of concepts, of course. How are they helping us? Concepts? Yes? Concepts help us in organization and classifying, right? Concepts and yes, propositions and cognitive schemas which helps us to form the mental network, cognitive network of knowledge, beliefs, expectations, right, followed by concept formation. What are the various stages in the concept formation? Number one,
attributes and rules.
It's a twofold activities. These twofold activities are, of course, attribute discovery and rule discovery. And what are the various stages in concept formation, by the way?
Observation, generalization, differentiation and abstraction.
Very good. And what is the next cognitive process here?
Simple concepts, complex.
Yes. And next is reasoning. What are the two types of reasoning here? Deductive and inductive reasoning. Yes? Any doubts here?
Ma'am, what are the uses of concept which makes the world more manageable?
In fact, concepts here are very helpful in classifying and organizing our world of experiences. Concepts, of course, makes our world more manageable. concepts, it is because of concepts one is able to reduce the burden of learning and memory, as one response needed for all those stimuli belonging to one category of concepts, right. And this improves one's ability to adapt to environment and grow. That is why concepts are termed as building blocks of thought, right. So, these are the various usages of concepts, right.